Here's how to conquer those scary Y seams as a quilter. Something kind of like this. So you know my thing is quilting for beginners. How to get started in quilting. Those are the kind of online courses that we have on our website. So this is a little bit more of an advanced kind of technique, but if you're looking to up your skills, this is a great one to learn. Admittedly, I am very rusty at this because I purposely avoid any kind of pattern that has a Y seam. But someone recently messaged me and asked if I could show them how to do a Y seam because they want to do an Escher quilt. So I'm going to do diamonds because I think that's probably the most popular in an Escher quilt. And this is how I learned how to do them. So this is how we want them to look from the front, but we're going to start on the back. So flip them over. Now I already have some lines on them. These are just scraps that I pulled out to demonstrate this, but I want you to look at this part right here. When you see these little corners that they come together, you're going to put a little mark through them so that you can see where the 1/4 inch line is that you have to stop at. Y seams are really going to test how well you keep that 1/4 inch seam. You're also going to get really comfortable with your reverse button. So on your diamond piece, I just put my ruler from here to the different points that are across from each other. And I did a little bit of a line here and a little bit of a line there. Disregard the line in the middles, or this one too and that one too, because that's from a different project. So let's say we're gonna sew these two together here. So we're gonna lay them right sides together, okay? And then you're going to pin them. And your corners should come together like this. All right, so I'm gonna sew. I have my 1/4 inch foot on, and it's the kind with the guard, so I can be very careful that I stay a 1/4 inch seam. I'm gonna sew right up until my needle hits this line right here, and then you back stitch. So we wanna sew right up to this point and then stop and do a little back stitch. Sorry, you can't see that, but that's what I'm doing. Little back stitch. And now I can cut my thread and take it out. So we sewed up to that point. You can see it's still open a little bit here on the end, and that's good. That's where we're gonna put our next piece that goes this way. So we're gonna lay that piece right side down, and we will connect the points over here, and then we can also pin it over here. We just have to make sure that this first piece stays out of the way when we go to sew. So I'm pulling that first piece out of the way, and then I can lay it down. And this is where I'm going to sew right here, is right where that point is. So I'm going to lower my needle right to where that point is and make sure it's going in at the right spot. I can sew a couple stitches and then back stitch a couple stitches. Don't go past your line, and then I'll sew the rest of my seam here. So you want all of your seams to start right where that line is that you drew across to the other side, and then do a couple back stitch and then go forward like this. So now we open this up and we open that up. And so now we need to do this side over here. So we're gonna lay it right sides together, and same thing as last time. We're going to pin right here. And then when we get to this area, we have to make sure, you can see all of these little seams coming together, get those out of the way. I'm sorry, it's just hard to show you. It's like a tiny, tiny little space in there. Get those out of the way so you can lay this flat. And then again, you're gonna put your needle down right there. That's where you're gonna start, is right where your starting line is. And then you'll sew up that way. All right, so I've lowered my needle down to where it's just going right into that little line that I made. That's where I'm gonna start. A couple stitches forward and a couple stitches back. Don't go past your line. One more right there. Okay, and then you can sew the rest of your seam here. Now I'm just doing this for one little block, but it's gonna be different for you if you're doing a whole quilt of these, like an Escher quilt. I'll have to connect. So when you draw the little lines on your diamonds, draw them on all 4 points, and you're gonna have to stop at all 4 points. Don't just sew right off the edge like I did here. You can't do that. All right, so we're all done. This is the test. You open it up. Make sure there's no hole in there, right? They all got put together perfectly. Now we have to press it. All right, and then I just press it down really good in the center. Now, you know me, normally I am pressing my seams open because you have a much more flat quilt top and you don't have any of those big bumps for your long arm to go over, or if you're quilting on a domestic, you don't have any big bumps. I do a light mist of water, and then I'm going to press. And pressing, we just go up and down. We don't move everything around. We just go up and down. And press these seams. I don't know why my camera keeps refocusing like that, but, and then I will flip it over. That's already looking really great. Now these are scraps, and I used the wrong kind of pin because I didn't really care. They're just scraps. So you can see my lines coming through on the other side. That's why it's really important you are careful what you mark your fabric with. But there you go. So that is kind of like an Escher quilt, like a diamond pattern that I know they have in Escher quilts. And then everything comes together here in the center. There's no holes. Everything was sewn together. So if you just make those little 1/4 inch lines right there and just make sure that all of your seams start and end at that little mark there, you can't mess up. Like, it's actually really not as difficult. It's just time consuming, and I think that's probably why I don't prefer to do them. But they are gorgeous. They make really gorgeous quilts.